Remember, my fellow litigators, this job will not save you. Hello everyone, my name is Shane Scott. I am a litigation attorney and I am the creator of thespirituallitigator.com, a blog dedicated to self-care, stress management, and mindfulness for attorneys. And today I am talking about my favorite show and, in my opinion, one of the greatest shows to ever be created, The Wire. And for those of you who don't know, The Wire ran from 2002 to 2008, and it was a show about drug culture. And it followed people who sold drugs, people who did drugs, people who arrested people for doing and selling drugs, and people who prosecuted them. And it was a very, very layered show where you were able to get a glimpse into these different areas and these different individuals from different backgrounds and find that we're all not that different. I'm going to talk about a specific scene that impacted me when I went back and rewatched it and was reminded by how much the characters in The Wire and their experiences apply to the practice of law. So before I get started, spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking about different scenes, different outcomes, different deaths of characters, and if you've not seen The Wire before, I don't want to spoil that for you, so turn this off and go watch it. Just go binge watch it. We know that you can do that. So, all right, if you have seen it, here we go. So in season 3, which is the second best season, fourth season is the best, but in season 3, Mcnulty has finally caught Stringer Bell on The Wire. He can't wait to put the handcuffs on him. He's bragging about how great of a police officer he is, how great all of them are. And Lester Freamon looks at him and says, you know, what do you expect from this? A parade? You expect them all to cheer for you and to say that you are always right? And he says, Jimmy, the job will not save you. It will not make you whole. It will not fill your ass up. A good case ends. You put on the handcuffs, the case is over, and all you're left with is yourself sitting in the room by yourself. And Jimmy's arguing with him, and he says, well, then I go to the next case. And Lester says, oh, you need something outside of all of this. And the best part of the scene is where Lester Freamon says, a life, Jimmy. You know what that is? A life. It's the shit that happens where you're waiting for moments that never come. So let's unpack all of these quotes one by one. So the first quote, the job will not save you. It will not make you whole. It will not fill you up. This is significant because Jimmy went from case to case and he was never fulfilled. He engaged in behavior that ended his first marriage. He continued to engage in behavior that endangered his children's lives, and he continued to destroy his new and really healthy relationship with Beatty. And the reason that's so important is the practice of law can't save you either. It's not going to make you whole. It's not going to fill you up. And yes, we have a job to do. That's not to say that you just stop doing your job and, law is too much. It's a balance. And I think we've all had at least one instance where we've seen how our addiction to our work, our addiction to a case has negatively impacted our relationships, whether those are romantic or otherwise. Years ago, I forgot my best friend's birthday. I moved out here from Michigan, and I was working so hard, and my best friend back in Michigan, her birthday came and went, and I remember looking up a week later at the calendar and being like, oh my God. And all I could do was call her, cry, and apologize. Birthdays mean a lot to me, and that was my wake-up call at that point. And I had several wake-up calls after that about how much I was stressing myself out. But that was one of the first ones where I realized work is extremely important, but I have to make sure I'm not negatively impacting my friendships, my relationships, the things outside of work that matter, because work is not going to fill me up. But my friendships, my relationships, those are going to be what fills me up. So that was really important to me. The second quote that was significant to me was, a good case ends. And it made me think about how Mcnulty in The Wire, he lived in a crap apartment on an air mattress. All he did was work, drink, rinse, repeat. And he almost lost his kids because of that, because he needed to have, an actual place for the kids to sleep. They can't sleep on the floor with him. And he just went from case to case. He was never fulfilled. I think that he always thought, when I get this case, everything will be okay. And I think we do that sometimes. We say, okay, well, as soon as I finish this one case, everything will go back to normal. Unfortunately, if you get addicted to the panic, you get addicted to the rush of litigation, you get too addicted to that, that's going to be your new normal. So you're always going to be seeking that high of the next big case that's going to make you pull your hair out, stay up late. You're going to crave that if you don't take a step back and see that a good case ends and the cycle continues, but your life continues as well. Which brings me to the third quote. A life is the shit that happens while you're waiting for the moments that never come. And that's significant. You think about Mcnulty, how he destroyed his first marriage. He endangered the lives of his kids. He was destroying his really healthy relationship with Beatty, all because he was seeking that moment where he could put those handcuffs on Stringer Bell. And you know what happened? That moment never happened, because Stringer Bell was killed. So he never got to have that moment. And meanwhile, he almost had no purpose after that. And I want you to think about the moments. You're obsessing as a lawyer about moments that may or may not occur. The motion that you want to win, the case that you want to get that verdict on, whether you want guilty or not guilty, or liability or no cause, the approval you want from the partner that you've always wanted to just look at you and say, good job. There are things that we're striving for. And there's nothing wrong with having a career ambition. But understand that life is still happening. Life is this thing that's happening while you're waiting for these moments that may or may not occur, that may or may not show up. So why push away the things that you have control over, like your friends, your family, the time that you spend with them, the time that you spend time with yourself and for yourself? Why stress out over the things in your job that you can't control when you have everything at home? Don't forget that you have this life. Don't forget the balance. And don't forget that your personal relationships and the relationship with yourself should always tip the scales and should always weigh more. So if you want to hear more from me, check out the blog at thespirituallitigator.com. Have a great day, and remember, don't burn out, just breathe.